Your companion stirs, and you feel the shift of their weight, the warmth of their skin against yours. You lie still and let your fingers brush along their arm, tracing the fine hairs and the ripple of muscle beneath tanned skin. Each touch is softened by the dim light, each breath shared in the hush of evening. In this darkness, intimacy needs no shields, only presence. You close your eyes and imagine the pulse of the ancient world beneath your eyelids. The toll of church bells, the whisper of prayers, the creak of the drawbridge at dawn. You feel your own pulse steady, in time with that rhythm. Your body hums with memory and desire, hard-won through years of routine and ritual. Desire wasn't shameful here. It was woven into the fabric of life, in labor, in longing, in lullabies sung to sleeping children. The wool blanket shifts as you turn toward the wall. You press your cheek into its scratchy fold, breathing in the scent of hay and hearth. The night wind rises, carrying the faint aroma of juniper from the chapel garden. You let that scent fill you, a gentle promise of renewal. Let yourself feel the textures of the past, and if you're still awake, share what surprised you. You rise with the sun, its pale light filtering through the woven shutters as you step into the morning chill. You balance the yoke across your shoulders, two wooden buckets swinging at your sides, and walk down the narrow path toward the well. Each footfall sends a whisper through dew-damp grass. When you reach the mossy stone rim, you lean the yoke aside and lower the rope. The bucket touches water with a soft splash, and you draw it up slowly, feeling the weight settle into your arms, like the promise of a new day. On the way back, you pass the goat pen. The does bleat softly as you open the gate, and one nudges you for her morning grain. You scatter handfuls of barley across stone and straw, watching them lower their heads together in contentment. You scratch behind their ears, feeling the coarse hair beneath your palm. They remind you that life is simple in its needs: water, food, shelter, and yet, beneath each routine lies room for surprise. Later, you settle at the spinning wheel beneath the apple tree, flax fibers spread like a pale web at your feet. Your hands move in practice circles, drafting fiber into thread with a soft whoosh each turn of the spindle. The scented wind carries blossoms and the distant laughter of children. You pause, noting the soft blush on your cheeks as you recall the miller's son watching you from across the field yesterday, his gaze shy but insistent. Your heart fluttered as though caught in a breeze. After breakfast, fresh goat's cheese and yesterday's bread soaked in warm broth, you carry water to the vegetable patch. The raspberries bow heavy with fruit, and you taste one, its juice bursting sweet and tart between your teeth. You think of the harvest festival approaching, when whole families gather to dance and feast beneath garlands of ivy and ribbon. It is then that courtship blooms most openly. Stolen glances, whispered promises, careful tests of courage in a world that measures virtue in seasons and ceremonies. At midday, you join other young women by the river to wash linen. You kneel on smooth stones, sleeves rolled, rubbing cloth in soapy water. They talk softly of futures, who might woo whom, which manor would accept a new bride with a dowry of fine cloth and household skills. Among them, you feel both weight and freedom, your worth tied to purity, yet your spirit eager to taste affection's flush. A friend teases you about the miller's son, and you laugh, splashing her with clean water. In that moment, your laughter feels like a prayer. After the laundry, you walk home through the village square, past the chapel where incense drifts from a morning mass. The priest's voice lingers, words of sin, purity, and confession. You carry his caution in your mind, but also wonder if love itself might be a form of grace, unconfined by fear. As you pass under the archway, a stray chicken bolts across your path, clucking wildly. You chase it through the mud, heart thumping, skirts darkening with splatter. For a moment, you forget duty, ritual, expectation. You capture the bird, tucking it under one arm, breathless and laughing. Sometimes love finds you while you're chasing a runaway chicken through the mud. In the afternoon, you help prepare dinner, chopping leeks, stirring thick pottage, tending the hearth fire so its ember glow heats the stone oven. Your mother stands beside you, offering quiet instruction. She speaks of alliances and honor, how a daughter's choices echo through generations. You nod, measuring herbs by instinct, but your mind drifts to the festival. You wonder if the miller's son will dance near you, if his hand might brush yours as the fiddle plays, if that small touch could spark something more. When the meal is ready, you carry bowls to the long table where your family gathers. Flickering lamps cast dancing shadows. Conversation drifts to the harvest, the coming winter, the rent owed to your lord. Marriage is mentioned, cousins spoken for, fortunes considered. Your name goes unspoken, but you know the question looms. You eat slowly, tasting salt and steam, your heart dancing between hope and caution. As dusk falls, you walk to the churchyard alone, lantern in hand. The gravestones stand silent, their inscriptions worn. You pause by your grandmother's stone, its letters faint but warm beneath your fingers. You recall her advice, that love is both gift and labor, that desire must be tempered with respect. You breathe deeply, inhaling the earth's cool perfume, the faint echo of incense carried by the wind. Night deepens. Lantern light guides you home, where the channel holds water for tomorrow's chores. You slip into your simple bed, linen cool against your skin. The sound of hooves on distant roads, the hush of night insects, and your own steady breathing become a lullaby. You hold the day's small moments close, the weight of water, the bleating goats, the spinning wheels hum, the river's murmur, the runaway chicken's cluck, the miller's son's shy smile. Each is a thread in the tapestry of your life, woven through duty and desire. In this world of structure and ceremony, cracks let warmth seep through. A shared glance, a stolen laugh, a scent on the breeze. These remind you that beneath obligation lives the pulse of human connection. You close your eyes, feeling the pulse slow to match your breath. Tomorrow, you will rise again, fetch water, tend goats, spin flax, and wonder anew what love might mean when found in the ordinary rhythms of the day. If your thoughts wander with the rhythm of old footsteps, that's all right. You're walking their path now. You lie on the rush-strewn floor of your new chamber, heart thundering in your chest like a drum at the harvest festival. Flickering torchlight paints dancing shapes on the walls, and the scent of fresh straw mingles with lingering smoke from the brazier. Your dress, heavy with silk and velvet, is gathered beside you, its embroidered hem tickling your ankles as you shift. This is your wedding night, an evening both feared and longed for, wrapped in layers of duty, desire, and ancient expectation. Your husband sits across the room, his back to you, hands clenched in his lap. Neither of you speaks. You remember your mother's last words before you left home. A whispered blessing and a leather pouch filled with dried rosemary and rue. She told you rue would steady your courage. Rosemary would remind you of her love. You touch the small pouch at your breast, feeling its crinkled weight, and inhale its dusty fragrance. You imagine her smile, salty and kind, and draw a shuddering breath. Folklore drifts through your mind, tales learned in childhood, of maidens who turned to stone when they trembled with shame, of men cursed when pleasure was sought for its own sake, of ghosts who wept between bride and groom to warn against selfish hearts. You wonder which stories hold truth, and which were woven to keep promise and fear tightly bound. Stillness presses against your skin, broken only by the soft rustle of tapestry as your husband shifts on the pallet. The church's voice echoes too, even here. A lifetime of lessons about sin and purity, of confession and penance. You recall the priest's gentle warning after your marriage mass, that marriage is a sacrament ordained for procreation, not mere pleasure, and that to stray from its purpose invites divine displeasure. You clutch your hands together, nails biting into palm, searching for the line between obedience and yearning. When he finally turns, you see his eyes are wide, uncertain. You rise unsteadily, smoothing the folds of your skirts, and offer a tentative hand. He takes it, relief flickering across his face, because duty can be a refuge as much as a burden. You guide him toward the bed, heart pounding so loudly it obscures your own quiet prayers. Between you, the air is charged with firstness. First touch, first breath mingled in close quarters, first stammered words that mutter apologies instead of declarations. There is no instruction manual, no gentle hand to ease the tension. You navigate each other with silent questions. A reach, a pause, a breath caught in your throat. When your skin meets his, the contact is electric, and not painful, as you had feared, but strange and soft. You feel muscle and warmth, the quick intake of his breath when you close your eyes against the shock of intimacy. There is awkwardness, yes, uncertainty in angle, in pressure, in meaning, but also a tender curiosity that slowly softens the edges of fear. Afterward, you lie side by side, bodies still trembling from the experience, and feel something shift deep within your chest. It is not triumph, but a quiet relief, a hush of understanding that this night was not a trial, but a beginning. You touch his arm, and he turns to press a gentle kiss to your hand. You close your eyes, letting the moment settle, learning that consent here is found in small gestures. A nod, a sigh, a stillness held in common. By candlelight, you speak softly. He admits his fear, mirroring your own. You laugh, a sound like bells in the cool air, and the sound cracks the tension. You find comfort in shared vulnerability, two souls caught between duty and desire, navigating ancient rites without guide or map. You share small jokes about the stiffness of the sheets, the smell of straw, the tuft of hair tickling his neck. In that laughter, you taste relief and connection. The night deepens, and your voices grow hushed. You speak of dreams, of children who might one day call you mother, of seasons you will live through together, of fields that will bear witness to your laughter. The church taught you that love follows duty, but here, in the soft dark, you sense they might walk hand in hand. You drift into sleep on a pillow of moss and cloth, fingers entwined, the pouch of herbs safe beneath your pillow. History rarely pauses here, but we will, because this is where real lives unfolded, in trembling hands, in whispered confessions, in the slow discovery of each other's edges. Let yourself rest in the small truths, even if they're uncomfortable. They belonged to someone once. You step through the low doorway of your neighbor's cottage, the air shifting from the chill of morning into the warm hush of hearth smoke and herbs. The midwife, known simply as Mother Elith, sits behind a rough wooden table strewn with small clay bowls of dried petals, roots, and leaves. She smiles without surprise as you slip inside, closing the door against the wind. You feel the soft weight of her welcome, a quiet power that hums beneath her calm voice and steady hands. Her cottage is a world apart from the village's stone hall and open square. Light filters through a small window pane, illuminating motes of dust dancing among bundles of lavender, rue, and yarrow hanging from the rafters. You inhale, tasting lavender's sweetness mingled with the bitter tang of rue, and feel a tension loosen in your chest. In this space, women's bodies are not secrets to be hidden, but subjects of careful study and tender care. Mother Elith pours you a small cup of warm water infused with chamomile and mint. For courage, she says softly. You cradle the cup between your hands, feeling the porcelain warmth seep into your palms. As you sip, she reaches for a bundle of dark seeds. These silphium grains, she explains, offer protection against unwanted children. Chew them over 3 nights, and your womb rests until you are ready again. Her tone is matter-of-fact, free of judgment or shame. You nod, tracing the smooth edge of the wooden bowl. In the village, whispers about contraception are spoken in shifting glances, an unspoken agreement among women that some knowledge is too precious to risk in public. Yet here, it is shared openly, passed down through generations by midwives, grandmothers, and neighbors. You imagine the courage it took to gather this wisdom when the church frowned on such arts, when men dismissed women's bodies as vessels for lineage rather than as sources of strength. As Mother Elith rummages in a woven basket, you recall your own mother's soft instructions. How to steam herbs to ease cramps, how to press warm cloths to a fevered brow, how to hold space without words when the world outside demands pragmatic toil. These techniques were learned in candlelit kitchens and beside cradleboards, whispered in lullabies and stitched into fabric alongside baby blankets. They were survival skills, but also acts of rebellion, small refusals of a system that sought to confine you to silence. She hands you a small pouch filled with pale seeds and petals. For pain, she says, poppy petals, dried and crushed. Mix with honey, and take a small spoonful before labor. It will ease the journey. You feel the pouch's textured weight against your palm and inhale the faint scent of honeyed earth. You think of the women you've known who suffered in childbirth, their cries. You wake before dawn, the the cold stone floor pressing through your woolen tunic as you rise in the empty dormitory. Candle flames dance in iron sconces, casting long shadows over sleeping forms. Here in the convent, you are expected to live as one shape, a sister, chaste and obedient. Instead, your heart remembers another rhythm, one that quickened at the soft brush of Sister Eleanor's hand across your sleeve, the way her laughter warmed the chill of midnight prayers. Each day you move among the cloistered halls, silent as a shadow, gathering water in a wooden bucket and humming hymns that taste of longing on your tongue. After morning mass, when the sisters kneel in rigid lines, you allow your eyes to drift to Eleanor's gentle face, her dark braid swinging over her shoulder as she stands in prayer. You wonder, is this worship of God, or worship of the flame that flickers between you both? In the garden, you kneel to weed a patch of chamomile and thyme. Your hands, stained with earth, trace the curve of a leaf. You remember the first time you pressed a petal to your lips, tasting its sweetness, thinking how its softness might mirror a lover's touch. Eleanor appears, carrying a basket of rosemary and lavender. She brushes past you, her scent trailing in the air. You catch your breath as though prayer itself has turned into something urgent. Whispers drift through the convent about other forbidden feelings. In court records from a distant abbey, 2 nuns were accused of sinful affection, their cloaks tumbled in a night raid. One sister scrawled a poem beneath flickering lanterns, "My heart turns to she who holds my head." You copy the line in secret, burning the parchment afterwards so no one will know you dared to feel it. Once a traveling merchant arrived at the gate, bearing news of a festival beyond the city walls. He spoke of cross-dressing minstrels whose songs blurred the lines of gender, and of craftsmen in distant towns who pledged themselves to friends with vows of love and loyalty. You listen, cheeks flushed, recalling how you and Eleanor fell into each other's arms after finishing chores, hiding behind a stone wall to whisper tender confessions. Your bodies curved together like a single blossom, both trembling with fear and joy. In the scriptorium, you copy texts in Latin, your quill dancing across vellum. Between lines of scripture, you scribble small hearts and your beloved's name in secret code. When someone finds the drawing, a novice who confesses to copying his brother's initials, he is punished with extra prayers. You tremble as the prioress passes your desk, testing the air for mischief, unaware that your own pen has already betrayed you. Yet compassion lives here too. Sister Agnes, older now and stooping with age, once caught you and Eleanor entwined in a private embrace. She said nothing. Instead, she sprinkled rosewater on your hair and told you that love, even when it breaks rules, can be a form of mercy. She offered you a pressed violet she had kept from her own youth, a wordless blessing that warmed your chest and whispered, "You are seen." Beyond convent walls, you learn of a young farm boy named Thomas who fell in love with another boy while tending sheep. Their loyalty to one another was recorded in a poem so honest it survived a bishop's purge. They prayed together under the moon, their whispers blending with the bleat of lambs. Scholars later called it unnatural, yet centuries later you read it and hear only the pulse of 2 hearts seeking each other in the dark. One evening, you and Eleanor steal away to the chapel's empty nave. Moonlight spills through stained glass, painting the stone floor with shards of color. You kneel side by side, but instead of praying, you reach for each other's hands. She tilts her head, and your lips brush like a soft confession. The world contracts to this single moment, where fear and hope collide. The convent hears rumors. The prioress summons you both, her gaze sharp as a needle. You brace for condemnation, but she simply says, "Go and reflect on your souls." You interpret her mercy as permission to exist, at least until dawn. You return to your cell, heart pounding like a drum, knowing you have stepped across a boundary, even if no one else heard the crossing. In the cellar below, where wine barrels age and shadows linger, you and Eleanor once shared stolen sips of honeyed mead, her lips brushing yours as the liquid burned warmth down your throat. The cellar's damp air clung to your skin, mocking the strict codes above. There, in the dark, your love needed no words, only breath, heartbeat, trust. You learn that tenderness can flourish in unexpected places, behind convent walls, in moonlit nave, among empty barrels. Even in centuries wrapped in rules, hearts still wandered. And though the world may label such love as sin, history holds these stories in secret corners, waiting to be found. If you've ever loved in silence, history sees you too. You remember the hush that fell over the courtyard when the soldiers' patrol came through, armor clinking like distant thunder. You had seen raids before, fields burned, flower stores seized, but nothing prepares you for the quiet that follows violence. That night, they dragged a young woman from her home, her hands bound in rope that cut into her skin. You watched through a narrow slit in the fence as she was led away, her gown torn and her sobs swallowed by the cold air. No one dared intervene. The lamp in your hand trembled as you held it aloft, powerless, witnessing a violation that would haunt your dreams. In the morning, the village spoke in hushed tones. Some whispered that she had been spared worse fate, taken into the soldiers' tent instead of the fields. Others said nothing had been spared. You learned her name was Marta, an orphan girl who worked at the baker's. She had smiled at you once, passing dough in the dawn light. Now, her seat beside the table was empty. You felt a hollow ache each time you passed the baker's door, as though the world had shifted and left a jagged space behind. You carry this memory with you as you walk through the markets, where merchants hawk cloth and pottery, oblivious to the cruelty that unfolded just beyond their stalls. You wonder how many women wear scars no one sees, how many peasants bear burdens that barter cannot erase. Intimacy in those moments wasn't chosen, it was stolen. No vow of love, no whispered promise, only the cruel demand of power. You taste the grief of countless nameless souls in each breath of market dust. In distant chronicles you once read of a noblewoman whose chamber was raided by her own kin, brother or uncle, the records blur. She resisted and was beaten until her body broke. The court documents speak clinically of resistance overcome, and her dishonor requiring remedy. You recall the cold precision of their words, as though a bruise on flesh could be remedied like a broken pot. Yet in your mind's eye, you see her pale face turn to the stone walls, tears tracing silent rivers. You learn that in war, the rape of women is bartered like grain. Armies march, and with them, soldiers claiming bodies as spoils. You walk the edge of the battlefield where bones still whiten, and you feel the weight of uncounted stories. How many mothers returned with wombs empty or scarred? How many daughters hid beneath wagons, shivering as the shouts drew near? You carry the echo of their cries in your bones, a sorrow older than the stones of the chapel. Despite the brutality, you also hear of small acts of defiance. A woman who sank a blade into a soldier's calf rather than submit. A midwife who smuggled girls to hidden convents, offering refuge in prayers and silent solidarity. You imagine their courage as a fragile flame flickering against the wind, a vow that even in violation, humanity insists on dignity. They built whispered alliances in the shadowed corners of taverns and behind locked doors, sharing herbs to ease pain and words to heal spirits. You kneel at the edge of the river at dawn, soft mist curling over the water. You name the river's current for those lost along its banks. Women dragged from fields, shafts of grief piercing their hearts, lives unraveled by violence. You whisper blessings into the cool air, imagining the words carried downstream to each wounded soul. The river does not judge. It only flows, bearing memory and washing anew. In the hush that follows your prayer, you feel both sorrow and resolve. Not all stories have soft endings, but all lives deserve to be remembered. You rise, shoulders squared against the morning chill, carrying the weight of unspoken grief as a vow to honor what was stolen. When the world presses upon you, demanding silence, you refuse. You carry their names in your heart, a chant against forgetting. If your heart is heavy now, place it gently down beside theirs. Rest is resistance too. You sit by the fire's glow, older now, the lines on your hands deeper but familiar as the grooves in the hearthstones. The blanket across your knees is soft wool, worn smooth by years of use, carrying the faint scent of smoke and lavender from the sachets tucked inside. Outside, the night is still. Only the crackle of embers and the distant call of an owl remind you that the world beyond your walls continues to turn. Here, in this quiet moment, you feel the pulse of centuries beneath your skin, and wonder how little has truly changed. As you lean forward, the warmth on your face brings memories to life. the first taste of barley bread after a long day's work, the sharp scent of juniper berries crushed in a healer's palm, the hush of lovers stolen behind a barn door. Shame and longing have walked these paths long before you, and will walk them long after your own course is run. Love, in its thousand gentle and fierce forms, threads through time like a river carving its way through stone, always present, often hidden, never wholly gone. You close your eyes and breathe deeply, inhaling the smoky sweetness of burning oak. The aroma fills your lungs, and for a moment you see faces long since faded from memory. The midwife with her quiet smile, the convent sister whose grace concealed a passionate heart, the runaway couple who vanished at dawn. Each carried stories that mattered, though few heard them. Tonight, you honor those voices by simply remembering them, by letting their echoes rise with every spark that drifts toward the ceiling. The stars beyond the shuttered window glow faintly, pale pinpricks against velvet darkness. You lift your gaze, tracing constellations your ancestors once saw, naming them in stories that wove the heavens with human hearts. They spoke of heroes and lovers, of sacrifice and redemption, using stars as punctuation for the grand tale of being alive. You imagine those old storytellers leaning into the same chill night air, their breath fogging in the dark, their voices soft as this one. In that imagined circle, you are both listener and teller. Maybe the past wasn't primitive, just quiet. And maybe you needed that silence tonight. In the hush, you rediscover truths buried by time. That desire is not shame, that grief is not weakness, that tenderness is a force as real as steel. You feel its gentle weight in your chest, a reminder that stories of touch and tear, of courage and fear, belong to every generation. Each one bears the imprint of human hearts seeking connection in a world that demands both strength and vulnerability. You shift the blanket, feeling its comforting weight, and let your thoughts drift to tomorrow's dawn. You will rise again, feed the hens, grind barley, and carry water to the fields. You will meet neighbors with quiet nods, share the comfort of a shared task, and perhaps catch a fleeting smile that speaks more than words. The rhythms of work and rest, of duty and longing, continue their steady beat. You carry within you the knowledge that today's small gestures echo the ones that came before, and will guide those yet to come. As the embers dim, you reach for the candle on the mantle and bring its flame to the hearth. The fire bursts to life, golden tongues licking the logs, offering light against the dark. You feel a surge of gratitude, for warmth, for memory, for the breath that carries both smoke and hope. The past is not a distant land but a presence at your side, a companion in the night's gentle vigil. If this journey moved you, pass it on, gently, like a secret shared in trust. You lie in your bed, blankets drawn around your shoulders, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your chest as you breathe. The world outside is hushed, shadows melting into dark corners, leaving only the soft glow of a single candle that flickers with a calm, steady rhythm. In this moment, time seems to fold in on itself, inviting your thoughts to settle like petals drifting on still water. Notice the warmth pooling at your fingertips, traveling through your arms, and settling in your heart, reminding you that you are grounded and safe. Take a slow, deep breath, feeling the cool air enter your nostrils and the warm sigh slip through your lips, carrying away tension you no longer need. With each exhale, imagine worries dissolving like mist at sunrise, leaving only calm beneath your skin. Let your awareness drift to the gentle weight of the blanket against your legs, the soft fabric cradling your body in a tender embrace. Notice the faint scent of lavender or chamomile lingering in the air, a comforting reminder of quiet gardens and healing rituals. Feel your eyelids grow heavy, the lids like soft curtains closing on each flicker of thought. The distant hum of your home, perhaps the low groan of floorboards as they settle, or the whisper of wind against the window, becomes a lullaby guiding you deeper. You are neither here nor there, but at the gentle intersection of wakefulness and dreams, a sweet threshold where rest takes hold. Hold on to the quiet knowledge that the stories you've carried tonight are part of a larger tapestry of human experience, woven with longing, courage, and soft revelation. Let those echoes drift into the night, becoming lullabies that rest in your bones and guide you toward renewal. As your breath slows, feel gratitude for the warmth that surrounds you, the glow of memory, the comfort of sensation, and the promise of dawn yet to come. You are held in this moment, cradled by past and present, safe within the slow cadence of your own heartbeat. Everything you've felt tonight will settle into stillness. Allow your mind to wander gently, slipping between thoughts like starlight through leaves. Notice the gentle rhythm of your blood, the pulse that has carried your stories across centuries, guiding you now into rest. Let your thoughts drift like candle smoke. You've walked far, now sleep,